Hey everyone, what's up? It's your girl Naia, and today we're diving into a tech wonderland. We're checking out the MSI CLAW hands-on review from ETA PRIME. I mean, with a title like that, you know there's gonna be some serious gadget magic happening. Huge battery, big screen, more power, sounds like my kind of tech dream. I can already feel the excitement building because we're about to see if this thing can really live up to the hype or if it's just another shiny box that makes promises it can't keep. So grab your popcorn, hit that like button, and let's jump right in. And hey, if you're not subscribed yet, what are you doing? Join the fam and let's get this reaction party started.
What's going on, everybody? It's ETA Prime back here again. Today we're going to be taking a look at the all-new MSI CLAW 8 AI Plus. And I do want to mention that I've had this in my possession for a few weeks now. I wasn't able to really talk about it due to embargo, but now the embargo has lifted.
The embargo lifting is always a big deal. It's like finally getting the green light to spill the tea on all the juicy details. I can't wait to see what this MSI CLAW Top Plus has in store for us. It looks sleek already, and I'm here for it.
We can finally take a look at this new handheld gaming PC. This is one that I've personally been waiting on, and as a lot of you may know, the first CLAW didn't do too well. I really did hold out hope for new driver updates and everything like that, but given the chip choice they opted to use in that one, it just didn't fare very well. Now, of course, MSI did come to the market with a lot of updates, and performance was definitely increased from the initial launch, but what we've got here is a much more powerful system. This is actually using an Intel Core Ultra Series 2 chip, and with that, we do get a much better iGPU with Xe2 cores. Along with more power, these new Core Ultra chips are really efficient, and given the fact that MSI added an 80 watt-hour battery to this, we can actually get some really good runtime out of this unit. Personally, I do like the look of it, and around back here, we do get some macro buttons that we can program from software, lots of ventilation, and it is a much larger handheld because this has an 8-inch display, and we'll talk more about that because that's a big key feature.
An 8-inch display? Now we're talking. That's a significant upgrade for a handheld. Bigger screens mean better gaming experiences, especially for those intense action sequences. I'm all for it. Let's see how it performs with that kind of real estate.
Big key feature with this unit. They've also added more I/O. Now up top, we've got our volume rocker, 3.5mm audio jack, 2 USB 4 ports, and both of these run at a 40 gig protocol, micro SD card slot, and our power button / fingerprint sensor, so we can log in really quickly to Windows with this unit. Along with the new hardware, we've got some new software here with the updated Center M. Lots of great changes here, and I will go over all of them in just a bit. But one of my favorites is actually the fact that our quick menu is now integrated with the Microsoft bar. And this is the first time we've seen this in a handheld, so they did have to kind of work close with Microsoft to get this up and running. Now that we're seeing it here, I do think that more handhelds down the road, at least handhelds that are running Windows out of the box, will utilize something like this. But it's really cool to have something, integrated into the operating system like it is with this. They did put a lot of time in the ergonomics with this unit, and it's really comfortable to hang on to for long periods of time.
Comfort is key when it comes to handhelds. If you can game for hours without cramping up, that's a major win. It sounds like MSI really thought this through, and I'm all about devices that prioritize user experience. Let's see how it holds up in action.
Full-size Hall-based analog sticks. Buttons feel great, and I haven't had any trouble playing any of my games with this for extended periods of time. Around back, we do have linear triggers, and from software, we can calibrate and reprogram everything on this unit. It's also got a built-in gyro, and when it comes to the D-pad, it is totally redesigned. I'll tell you, I still don't like the way it feels.
If the D-pad isn't hitting the mark, that's a bummer. It's such a crucial part of the gaming experience, especially for platformers or fighting games. I get it. Sometimes redesigns just don't land the way we hope. Let's see if the rest of the controls make up for it.
It feels a bit sharp. Not a lot of give to it. It just doesn't have a lot of feedback, but the D-pad here does work amazingly. I was pretty surprised by it, and we will get into some testing in just a bit. Just keep in mind, yeah, it's still a bit sharp, and it might even be a bit sharper than the older one on the original CLAW. But everything else fits in the hand perfectly. you can reach all of these buttons, and of course, one of the standout features here is going to be this screen. 120 Hz, it's
a 120 Hz screen. Now that's a game changer. Smooth visuals can make all the difference, especially in fast-paced games. If this handheld can deliver that kind of refresh rate, it's definitely stepping up its game. I'm excited to see how it performs.
It supports VRR.
Supporting VRR is a huge plus. It means smoother gameplay and less screen tearing. which is essential for an immersive experience. If this handheld can keep up with the action, it's going to be a solid contender in the gaming market. Let's see how it handles in real-world scenarios.
It's an 8-inch IPS at 1200p, so it's a 16:10 aspect ratio, and personally, I'm a big fan of it. I think it looks great, and the fact that we've got VRR is really awesome. And I'll give you an example here. This is Cyberpunk 2077. We're at 1200p, high settings. XeSS just defaulted to the quality preset, and I'll show you right there. We're at that high preset, XeSS, quality. 1200p, and I've got VSync set at 120 Hz. Now we're not going to hit 120 at high settings, and at 1200p high, we're not going to hit 60 even at a 30 watt TDP. As you can see from Afterburner, we're right there in the lower 40s, but the game here feels super smooth because we don't see any kind of screen tearing going on, and if I didn't have that...
If it feels smooth despite the lower frame rates, that's a win. Screen tearing can ruin the experience, so it's great to hear that the VRR is doing its job. It sounds like this handheld is managing to deliver a solid gaming experience even if the numbers aren't hitting the highs. Let's see how it holds up in more intense scenarios.
If I didn't have that frame counter on right now, I really wouldn't know any better that it wasn't running at 60 FPS. It feels super smooth on this display, but it's actually pretty easy to get this up past 60 FPS on the new CLAW 8 AI Plus. And basically, all you need to do is take that resolution down. I've gone to 800p, we were previously at 1200p, so right now we're at 800p, high settings, XeSS set to quality, and we're seeing an average of around 82. And
hitting an average of 82 FPS at 800 with high settings is impressive. That's a solid performance boost, and it shows the potential of the CLAW ETA. It's great to see how adjusting the resolution can really enhance the gaming experience. Let's keep an eye on how it performs with different settings.
2. And in between with those resolutions, you can definitely lock this down at 60. I just wanted to show you that jump from 1200 down to 800, and it's a pretty nice bump in performance. And just in case you're not familiar with this device, I did want to give you a quick rundown on the specs. MSI opted to use the Intel Core Ultra 7 258V. I've actually been using this chip in my main laptop for the past, 5 months the chip's been on the market. Absolutely love this thing. It's got a max clock up to 4.8, and with this, we only get 8 cores and 8 threads. It's much different from the first generation Core Ultra, which was 16 cores and like 22 or 24 threads. Little overkill for thin and light laptops and especially handhelds like this. Graphics are handled by the new Intel Arc 140V iGPU. This has 8 Xe2 cores and it'll clock up to 1950 MHz. This has 32 gigabytes of LP DDR5 RAM running at 8533 MHz, a 1TB M.2 NVMe SSD. We've also got that new 8-inch 120Hz 1200p IPS display. It supports variable refresh rate and it does up to 500 nits of brightness. It's got Wi-Fi 7 and low energy Bluetooth 5.4, and we've got an 80 watt-hour battery here. To give you an idea of the size, I've got the Steam Deck OLED here, and the Steam Deck OLED is definitely a bigger handheld in general. It's got a 7.4-inch OLED display. So to tell you the truth, the new CLAW 8 isn't much bigger than the Steam Deck itself, but it definitely dwarfs the ROG Ally X. And in terms of weight, this is actually coming in at 795 grams, which is heavier than the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally X. But we've got a much bigger handheld with that 80 watt-hour battery. I wanted to jump in here and give you a closer look at the updated Center M. So in my opinion, definitely looks a lot better. We've got all of our games listed here. It's going to scan our default directories. Gaming platform, Steam, Ubisoft, Xbox, and obviously you can manually add your own if you'd like. Epic, Battle.net, MSI App Player. This is actually an Android app player. And I haven't tested it with this one, but I did on the first generation CLAW. Not too bad. I mean, you can definitely play Android games on an x86 handheld if you want to. Down at the bottom, we've got our user scenario. In my opinion, this area does need a little work in future updates.
If the user scenario section needs improvement, that's definitely something to keep an eye on. A well-optimized interface can make or break the user experience, especially in gaming. It'll be interesting to see how MSI addresses this in future updates.
updates, we've got the AI engine. So this is basically our performance settings. From AI engine, it's automatically going to try to get the best TDP and frame rate for us. It does a pretty decent job. Endurance is going to give us the most battery life. And of course, we've got manual along with overboost. And, I really don't notice a difference between this on and off with this new handheld. Not sure if it's kind of a leftover, but basically with overboost, it would disable a lot of the virtualization stuff with the older chips. With this, we don't have any extra threads or anything like that, and I really don't notice a huge jump in TDP or performance while turning it on or off. TDP adjuster, 8 watts, 17, 30 watts. So this is all we have right here without using a third-party application. I do think we need kind of a slider here because it's a little all over the place.
A slider for adjustments would definitely streamline the experience. It sounds like the current setup could use a bit of refinement to make it more user-friendly. Having everything in one place with easy adjustments can really enhance usability, especially for gamers who want quick access to settings.
There are games that I'd like to just run at, 21 watts, maybe even 18 watts. Now you can use the third-party app if you want to, but for now we've only got these 3 manual settings. We've also got full control over the fan speed. Auto actually keeps this thing nice and chilly, but if you wanted to go to advanced, you can adjust everything from here. So it's actually really simple to do. I haven't really messed with it because, like I mentioned, auto does a pretty decent job the way it is. Controller mode, gamepad mode, desktop mode. So from gamepad mode, we can go through and actually adjust the dead zones on these analog sticks and the triggers if you want to. Set up vibration, macro, combination keys. We can calibrate all of the sticks from here. And of course, we've got a built-in gyro. Gyro enable button. So this will be our hotkey. It's set to always out of the box, but you can use whatever button you'd like here. And we've also got 3 different modes. So we can set the gyro up to be used as a left stick, right stick, or mouse. So yeah, lots of customization here with that gyro if you're into using one. Desktop mode. Little different here, but just kind of gives us a rundown on everything we need to know about using the built-in controller as kind of a mouse in desktop mode. Little bit of news. We've also got updates. You can go to the MSI forum, not too much from here. Connection, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and we've got our settings. So our AI engine utilize AI to provide real-time optimized system adjustments. And you can set this up to adjust the Mystic lighting, basically the RGB around the analog sticks. Built-in noise cancellation, got your media gallery for screenshots, system info, service, general settings. And from here, you can just totally reset everything. So if you do mess something up or you just want it to act like it was out of the box, you can reset it from here. So right now, that's about it for Center M, but we've also got our quick menu, and what I really like about this is it's integrated with the Xbox bar or the Microsoft bar. So from here, we can change the brightness, sound, power, settings. At any given time, you can change that user scenario directly from here. We can move from desktop mode with the built-in controller to gamepad mode, bring up our on-screen keyboard at any time, free up memory. Got a real-time monitor here, go directly to the desktop. Up at the top, got our friends. So yeah, it just utilizes that Microsoft bar. Sound adjust.
Integrating with the Microsoft bar is a smart move. It makes accessing settings and features so much easier. Having everything streamlined like that can really enhance the user experience, especially for gamers who want quick adjustments without fumbling through menus. This handheld is shaping up to be pretty user-friendly.
Sound adjustment for built-in microphones or audio output, screenshot, screen recording, the built-in Microsoft performance metrics, general settings, and the widget store. So audio, capture, gallery, MSI quick settings, just going to give us some more widgets that we can download. So you can actually set this up to have Spotify right there in your widget section. Actually, this is pretty cool, and hopefully more companies do add different widgets because some of these could come in really handy. So yeah, it is a nice upgrade over the original Center M on the first gen MSI CLAW, but I do think we need some more performance settings here. Again,
it sounds like while the upgrade is solid, there's still room for improvement in performance settings. More options could really enhance the user experience, especially for gamers looking to fine-tune their setup. Customization is key, and I hope MSI takes that feedback on board for future updates.
Here, Again, we've only got those 3. It would be nice to just even have a slider from, let's say, 8 watts up to 30 so we can go right in between and kind of dial it in. Next thing I wanted to show you were some benchmarks that I ran on this unit. And first up, we've got 3D Mark Night Raid coming in with 38,669. Just to give you an idea, I've also run this on the Z1 Extreme several times. 29,266, and both of these are running at a 30 watt TDP. Firestrike, 9,307, coming ahead of the Z1 Extreme. And finally, Time Spy with one of the highest scores that I've seen out of a chip like this, 4,600 versus the Z1 Extreme, and it really depends. You can get anywhere from 3,100 up to 3,600 with the Z1 Extreme, depending on the day. But it's kind of a known fact that in these synthetic benchmarks, these Core Ultra chips seem to get a little higher than Ryzen. Even the first generation Core Ultra definitely benched out really high with synthetics, but then kind of fell on its face when it comes to real-world gaming. So that's the next thing I wanted to do, run some more games. And first up, we've got Forza Horizon 5. And this is one of those games that gave me a lot of issues on the first generation Claw,
Forza Horizon 5 can be a real test for hardware. If it struggled on the first general Claw, I'm curious to see how this new model handles it. With the upgrades, it better deliver a smoother experience, especially at 1200 bit with high settings. Let's see if it can keep up.
Generation Claw, even after all of the updates, we did have to really turn those settings down, but with the new Core Ultra 258V here, we're at high settings, 1200p, XeSS is set to...
Running Forza Horizon 5 at high settings and 1200 with CSS set, that's ambitious. If it can handle that smoothly, it's a significant improvement over the first generation. I'm excited to see how it performs in action.
At the balance, we're seeing an average of around 82 FPS. This is
of 82 FPS at 1200 with high settings is impressive. That's a solid performance for a handheld, especially in a visually demanding game like Forza Horizon 5. It looks like the new hardware is really making a difference.
Yes, this is more than playable. Next game we have here is Doom Eternal. I know it's an older one, but right now we're at medium 1200p, no resolution scale. And one thing I've noticed about this new Claw is the speaker system.
Noticing improvements in the speaker system is a big deal. Good audio can really enhance the gaming experience, especially in a fast-paced game like Doom Eternal. If the sound quality is on point, it adds another layer of immersion. Let's see how it performs in action.
It does support DTS, and it's got those front-firing stereo speakers. I wouldn't be the first one to tell you that the Claw, even the original, had a good sound system. In fact, I think the first person to say anything about it would be Stubbs from Retro Handhelds. Yeah, now that I actually think about it, he'd definitely be the first one to tell you. Now I want to test out this D-pad. I'm using the new Capcom Fighting Collection. This is Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is a classic. Testing the D-pad with a fighting game is a smart move since precision is key. If it can handle those combos smoothly, that'll be a huge plus for the handheld. Let's see how it performs.
This D-pad works way better than I ever thought it would.
That's awesome to hear. A responsive D-pad can make all the difference in fighting games. If it's performing better than expected, that's a major win for the handheld. It sounds like MSI really nailed it with this design.
I don't like the feel of it. Doesn't have...
It's a mixed bag then. It's great that it works well. But if the feel isn't right, that can be frustrating during gameplay. Comfort and tactile feedback are crucial for fighting games. So hopefully, it's something that can be improved in future iterations.
Doesn't have great roll.
If the D-pad lacks good roll, that can definitely hinder gameplay. Especially in a fast-paced fighting game, it's all about those quick directional inputs, and if it feels stiff or unresponsive, it can throw off your game. Hopefully, MSI can refine that in future models.
It feels a bit sharp, but it's pretty accurate here for these fighting games.
Sharpness in the D-pad can be a real turn-off, but if it's accurate, that's a silver lining. It's all about finding that balance between comfort and precision. Hopefully, with some tweaks, it can become both user-friendly and responsive for those intense fighting matches.
So I was really surprised by it. Next up, Spider-Man Remastered, and you might notice we've got a little bit of a black border.
Spider-Man Remastered is a fantastic choice. A black border can be a bit distracting, but if it helps maintain performance, it might be worth it. I'm curious to see how the handheld handles this game, especially at 1200p with medium settings. Let's see if it can keep up with the action.
Black border around this, and this is something I ran into with this game and one other. I do think it's the brand new Intel driver doing this, but I've got it set to 1200p, and from the settings I've got it set to 16:10 aspect ratio, but it gave me those black bars on the side, which was a bit odd. Next up, Elden Ring.
Elden Ring is a great choice for testing. It's visually stunning and can be quite demanding. Running it at 800p with medium settings should help maintain a smoother experience. I'm excited to see how the handheld handles those expansive environments and intense battles.
Elden Ring, I dropped this one down to 800p, medium settings, doing pretty decent. Drops down.
If it's doing pretty decent at 800e with medium settings, that's a solid performance. Elden Ring can be quite taxing, so maintaining good frame rates is impressive. It sounds like the handheld is holding its own in this expansive world.
Decent. Drops down every once in a while under 60, but overall, I mean, it's a really playable.
If it's mostly staying above 60 FPS, that's impressive for a handheld. Elden Ring's vast landscapes can be demanding, so having a playable experience is a win. It sounds like this device is really delivering on performance.
Really playable experience here. I also wanted to test God of War Ragnarok, and while it ran pretty decently, I did notice some.
Testing God of War Ragnarok is a great choice. If it ran decently at 1200p with low settings, that's promising. This game is visually stunning, so I'm curious to see how it handles the action and if it maintains a smooth experience. Let's hear what you noticed.
I did notice some graphical issues going on, especially with particles and everything like that.
Graphical issues, especially with particles, can be a real bummer in a visually rich game like God of War Ragnarok. It's disappointing when performance doesn't match the visuals, but hopefully, those can be ironed out in future updates. It will be interesting to see how MSI addresses these concerns.
Again, it does come down to that driver. There's not much that I can do about it. And when I'm running this game with any AMD iGPU, I always enable the AMD frame gen that's built in with the game, but it doesn't play well with the Intel Arc GPU, at least with this one. There are some games where it does work fairly well, like Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, but with this one, when I do have frame gen on, it's really not that much better. One of the most important things for a portable handheld gaming system is going to be battery life.
Absolutely, battery life is crucial for handheld gaming. If you can't game for long periods without needing to recharge, it really limits the experience. I'm eager to hear how the battery holds up during gameplay, especially with demanding titles.
The battery life, and MSI did add that 80 watt-hour battery. Plus, I mentioned that these new Core Ultra Series 2 chips are really efficient. What you're seeing on screen right now is Hades 2 at 1200p medium settings.
Hades 2 is a fantastic choice for testing. Running it at 1200p with medium settings should be a smooth experience, especially with the efficiency of the new Core Ultra chips. I'm excited to see how it performs in terms of frame rates and overall gameplay.
Settings. I've turned off the RGB, I've got the screen brightness set to 50%, and if you take a closer look at Afterburner, I've got the total battery draw listed. I'm using hardware info in the background. We're pulling anywhere from 7 to 7.9 watts, and this is total system draw.
That's impressive. Pulling only 7 to 9 watts for total system draw while playing Hades 2 shows how efficient the setup is. It sounds like the battery life should hold up well during gaming sessions, which is a huge plus for a handheld.
This is everything going on with the handheld, and this will kind of give us a good idea of what kind of battery life we can see out of this device. I also ran this test with YouTube video playback and AAA gaming at a higher wattage. Screen brightness at 50%, RGB off, with Hades 2 at 7.6 watts, so we can see 10 plus hours.
Over 10 hours of battery life while playing Hades 2 is fantastic, and 18 hours for YouTube playback is impressive too. It sounds like this handheld is really optimized for long gaming sessions, which is a huge win for portability. This device is shaping up to be a solid choice for gamers on the go.
Of course, a gameplay out of this thing. Video playback from YouTube, it only pulled 4.4 watts. That's
Pulling only 4 watts for YouTube playback is excellent. That's a great way to maximize battery life for media consumption. It sounds like this handheld is not only a gaming powerhouse, but also a solid media device for long viewing sessions.
watts. That's 18 plus hours of video playback. And with this thing maxed out in manual mode at 30 watts, it was pulling a total of 37.6 watts while playing Cyberpunk 2077. That's still 2 plus hours of gameplay out of that thing, and it was at 1200p high settings. So
2 plus hours of gameplay at 1200 with high settings for Cyberpunk 2077 is impressive. That shows the balance between performance and battery life is well thought out. It's great to see that even at max settings, the handheld can still deliver a decent playtime. This device is really proving its worth.
So in the end, yeah, we're seeing some great battery life. I do love the ergonomics here. Kind of wish they offered a couple different colors. Some people might not be into, I think they call this Sandstorm or something like that. Everything feels decent here except for the D-pad. But when it comes to functionality of that D-pad, it does work really, really well. I love these bigger screen handhelds, and the fact that this does support VRR is definitely a plus. But yeah, I mean, we've got the OLEDs on the market. I've always been a big fan of AMOLEDs and OLED displays just because of those super deep blacks and vibrant colors. But the IPS panel they chose here does look very good. Now, when it comes to performance, I will have one more video coming up. I do want to face this off against the Ryzen Z1 Extreme, just kind of head-to-head, compatibility, everything like that. But so far from what I've tested, I mean, we're seeing some decent performance, albeit with some of the AAA games, we do have to go to that higher wattage to get that performance. But luckily, it's got that 80 watt-hour battery, and it's something I'm not really worried about, knowing that, I can still get some really good battery life out of this thing. But so far, I've been having a blast with this handheld, and if you're interested in learning a little more, I will leave links in the description. And definitely keep an eye on the channel because I'll have that video coming up with this thing facing off against the Z1 Extreme. And if there's any games you want to see running, just let me know in the comments below. But that's going to wrap it up for this one. Like always, thanks for watching.
Alright party people, that's a wrap on our deep dive into the MSI CLAW 8i Plus with ETA PRIME. If I had $1 for every time I was like, whoa, this screen is HUG, during this reaction, I'd have enough cash to actually buy one of these bad boys. Seriously though, with that 8-inch display and 120Hz refresh rate, it's clear this handheld is trying to level up its game. I mean, who doesn't want smooth visuals while fighting off monsters in Elden Ring or zooming through Forza Horizon 5? Now, about my expectations, I wanted this to be tech magic. And it kinda delivered. The battery life fantastic. Over 10 hours on Hades 2? That's like binge watching the entire season of my favorite show and still having power left for TikToks. But let's not ignore the elephant in the room, the D-pad situation. If it's not hitting the mark, it could mean trouble for serious gamers. It's like getting a fancy new car that has a broken steering wheel. How fun is that gonna be? All in all, you can tell MSI is onto something good. But they need to polish a few rough edges before I's fully convinced. I mean, come on, we want perfection, right? Anyway, if you enjoyed our little tech extravaganza, smash that like button harder than I smashed that popcorn at the beginning. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Join the Naia and let's keep this reaction party alive. Until next time, remember, the only thing more powerful than my reaction game is my ability to binge watch the latest series. Catch you later.